And get to be a solo today.
The rain will let up. The sound is growing louder and louder inside my head. It is the sound of regret, battering against my heart. My emotions surge like a terrible storm within me. I never wished for this. I never expected my heart to be dragged so far beyond my control. I can't save Maria. I can't save Maria. I can't save Maria. The words storm through my mind and relentless cacophony. I called up images of the bodies from the human testing drills on Hitomi. I couldn't help but imagine my daughter in the same gruesome state.
Can you please turn your gain up a little bit, Panda?
Just a few more hours. Maria would begin hemorrhaging blood and die just like the people in the pictures had. I can't save Maria. I can't save Maria. I can't save Maria. I couldn't shake the words, the reality from my mind. Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! I began pounding my fist fiercely on the desktop.
You do the other character too.
Sir, what are you doing? Kajiwara tried to intervene. He kept on pounding away. When I finally ceased, the pain of the repeated impacts lingered in my hands. My research was never about any sincere desire to help people. And now I'm paying the price for that. The one time it finally matters, I can't even save my own daughter. Mr. Osawa. Kajiwara set his hand on my shoulder. You can always burn yourself later. But for now, think again. Good and hard. Is there really no other way to save Maria? Nothing else we could try. I shook my head. The only means we had left was using Tanaka's password to unlock doors. And now Tanaka's dead. Is that? Which one is that? Is that Osawa, the other guy who said that?
Has to be a solo.
There's no other way. Is there a possibility that Mr. Tanaka told someone else his password? This was something I hadn't considered. Was there anyone Tanaka might have shared his password with? Only one person came to mind. Well, yes. There may be someone. You're referring to I, sir? Kajiwara cast his eyes down. Figure that out, then? Yes. Back during the commotion over that listening device. A necktie clip isn't typically a sort of present one gives to one's husband's coworker. And yet, although some might consider it somewhat inappropriate, Mr. Tanaka was wearing it as if it were a matter of course. Which implies something about their relationship. Kajiwara's voice trailed off. He coughed apologetically and tried again. I realize it's an awkward situation, sir. But please, check with your wife. Even if does happen to know the password. That does us no good if Maria gets quarantined someplace we can't reach her. I understand, Mr. Osawa. I'll bring Maria to you then. I'll do everything in my power to make that happen. The detective then produced a bunch of bananas from his pocket. These are all left over. You're more than welcome to them, sir. Despite his gentle smile, the rest of his face was firm with resolve. You said you didn't care whether what other people understood you. Didn't you, Mr. Osawa? I nodded guardedly. At the risk of being presumptuous, sir, I understand you, Kajiwara said. I used to be quite the workaholic myself. You're just like me. Wait. Oh. You're just like me. Innocent and awkward. Calling yourself innocent, huh? How modest of you. I let out a sardonic chuckle, and after a moment, Kajiwara joined in. The next time I see you, Mr. Osawa, I'll have Maria with me. The detective gave a slight bow, then left the study, a look of determination on his face. I watched him go with admiration. No matter what trouble arose, the man always looked for something he could do. He really was a fellow who knew how to hang tough. Compared to that, I couldn't even articulate my own self-disgust. And asking Ai about the password would also mean inquiring into her relationship with Tanaka. The prospect was daunting. Venturing into the emotional territory of another person was my weakest suit. I left my study, but somehow found myself making my way to Maria's room, not Ai's. I realized that I hadn't been in my daughter's room since a certain rainy day years before. Now I stepped quietly inside and saw Maria's world laid out before me. A small photo was set atop her neat and tidy desk. It was a close-up of someone's hand doing a cat's cradle. Whose hands were they? From skin tone, they didn't appear to be Maria's. Several more photographs were pinned to a corkboard that hung on a wall. There were snapshots of people and townscapes from the Middle East. One glance at them, and I felt like I was back there for a moment. The images weren't necessarily aesthetically pleasing, but they all looked like they had been taken by a professional. When I spotted the last photo on the corkboard, however, I was certain that Maria had taken them all. The last picture was of myself. I was facing the camera, holding some luggage and flashing an awkward smile. It was a comical, affectionate image. I'd never known that photography was one of my daughter's hobbies. No, this went beyond a mere hobby. Did she perhaps aspire to be a professional photographer one day? She certainly had the aptitude for it, from the look of things. Maria, a photographer. As I mulled the idea over, I felt my chest tighten. Right now, it looked like Maria's hopes and dreams were about to be snuffed out. Her future consisted of bleeding to death a few hours from now. I stared vacantly out the window. The view from Maria's room remained unchanged from so long ago. Again, that rainy day crept back into my mind as vivid as the present. That day, I was dealing with some pressing business from work. I'd ensconced myself from my study, wrestling with some paperwork, when Hitomi barged in, looking distraught.
Jules.
Maria's gone.
Sensing that Hitomi was legitimately alarmed, I hurried to Maria's room. I found a letter she'd left atop her writing desk.
Dad, you only care about Hitomi. You're always working and never do anything with me. So I'm running away.
A few hours earlier, I'd canceled our weekend trip to the amusement park. I just wasn't going to be able to get my work done in time. Hitomi had resigned herself readily enough, but Maria just couldn't accept it. She'd been looking forward to it for so long, she railed at me. How many times now had I broken one of my promises to her?
Hitomi understands why we can't go. So why can't you do the same?
Old rebuke had ended her complaining, but it was clear she still didn't accept the situation. Now, Hitomi helped me look around, but we found nothing missing from Maria's room. Despite her assertion that she was running away, then it seemed like there was no point in being overly concerned. Is it Jules for me?
I would say that's you, maybe.
Maybe she's at the park she always goes to? Hitomi looked worried. The park was roughly a 25-minute walk from the house. It would only take about an hour for me to go get her and bring her home. But an hour is more than I could afford to spare right now.
Dad, I think she's waiting for you to go after her.
I didn't need Hitomi to tell me that. I knew it well enough. That was what galled me so much about the situation. Why did she have to pull something like this precisely when my work was at its busiest? I'd done everything I could as a father since my wife had passed away. Why couldn't my daughter see that?
It's alright.
Sure now. It's alright. Your sister will come back. The rain was coming down pretty hard outside the window.
Do you think she brought an umbrella?
Hitomi asked anxiously. I don't know, but with the rain like this, she'll come back home soon enough. I spoke the words for myself as much as for Hitomi. Then I headed back to my study and got back to work. But several hours went by, and still Maria did not return. The rain had gotten even more intense, to the point where I could hear it in my study. I was so concerned about my missing girl that I couldn't focus on my work, but I stubbornly refused to give in and go search for her. Several more hours passed. At last, Maria appeared at the front door, soaking wet. I met her silently in the entryway. Wet strands of hair clung to the girl's forehead as she looked up at me with a bitter glare.
You don't care what happens to me, do you?
Immediately, I smacked her across the cheek with the flat of my hand. It was the first time in my life I'd ever struck anyone. I hadn't known such a violent impulse could exist inside me. Maria stood there, her hand pressed to her cheek. Tears welled up in her eyes. She began to tremble. On her lip was a small bead of blood. A flood of guilt and regret rose up inside of me, as if I'd just shattered some intricate piece of glasswork. How? How could I do such a thing? I clenched my shameful hand into a fist. And in that moment, I was afraid of Maria. Afraid that my daughter could bring such a raw emotion out of me and make me do something so thoughtless. But even more, I was afraid of how stunted I was as a human being. Was someone like me really fit to be a parent? What kind of future could Maria and Hitomi hope for with a father like me? That was why I'd married I as Makino had proposed. Having a mother, I decided, would help keep my family together despite their sad excuse for a father. But in so doing, I had dug a psychological ditch between myself and my daughters. A deep ditch so that I could keep my daughters from being hurt. So that I wouldn't hurt myself. Now I was staring across that ditch, wondering if it was too wide to leap. I thought back to my earlier exchange with Kajiwara. If you get angry, you show it. If you get sad, you show it. It's human nature to let other people know how we're feeling after all. But what if doing that hurts the other person? That's when you apologize, sir. Yes, that was right. I needed to apologize to Maria for what I'd done that day. It still wasn't too late. It's never too late. When it comes to family, there's no such thing as game over. I recalled Pretty Honey's words. I needed to apologize to Maria, and so I needed to ask I for that password. I was going to have to face my wife.
I called upon Kenji Osawa to let me know the results of his little investigation.
My phone rang, and Minorikawa's phone number popped up on the LCD display. The reporter must have finished looking into the matter I had asked about. It's Minorikawa.
Wait, the reporter. Oh, that's right. Nolan.
Mr. Osawa? Sorry to keep you waiting.
How'd it go?
Well, I looked into the background of that story you had asked about, and I learned who it was your wife was dating.
Who was it? I asked immediately. There was a brief pause.
Mamoru Tanaka.
I see. Finally, I had proof positive of a relationship between I and Tanaka. Now, more than ever, it was no time to waver. No matter how painful the reality was, it was also true that if they hadn't been dating, there would have probably have been no way of saving Maria.
So,
Minorikawa said.
what was this big thing about disrupting the power balance of the world all about?
There's something I need to take care of on my end first. Once I'm finished, I'll tell you everything.
Yeah, that's fine. Things are pretty hectic on my end right now anyway.
I had expected Norikawa to put up more of a fight. I'd figured a reporter for 4-star general gossip would be a bit more persistent.
Oh, by the way, there's one more thing I wanted to tell you, Mr. Osawa.
I could practically sense the finger pointing my way from the other end of the line.
Don't be too angry with your wife. All too often, in this world, people let their anger get in the way of solving their problems.
You may have a point. I let out a wry chuckle. Alright then. I'll call you back later. I found Ai standing by herself in the yard. She kept her back to me as I approached. May I have a moment? I asked quietly.
What?
Still, she didn't bother to turn around. There's something important I need to talk to you about.
I'm not in the mood right now.
He's I realize you're upset about Tanaka's death, but... At the mention of Tanaka's name, I slowly shook her head.
Don't. Just tell me what you want. Hurry up and get to the point.
I tried to move closer to her, but she pointingly kept her distance. B. There was something I needed to hear for myself before this went any further. Were you in love with Tanaka?
What are you talking about?
I frowned. Why did you marry me? I asked.
You've got to be kidding. This is the important discussion you wanted to have?
Did you ever love me? I let out a joyless chuckle.
Love. I'm amazed to even hear the word you leave your lips.
There was a note of challenge in her voice.
Let me ask you the same question. Did you ever love me?
To be honest, I married you because I thought my daughters needed a mother.
Wow.
I let out a weary sigh. Some of the combative tension left her shoulders.
That really is honest.
She said. It's you.
So I guess I should be honest too. I married you because my father asked me to. He wanted to chain you down so you didn't leave for some other company.
And you're okay with marrying someone for something like that?
For something like that? You really have no idea how much you're worth, do you? The value of one woman's life versus the potential profits your research would bring in. There's no comparing the two. If it meant that Okoshi Pharmaceutical could monopolize your talents, then what did it even matter what I wanted for myself?
There was something akin to desperation in Ai's voice. And so you sent me those threatening emails too?
What?
I looked at me in shock. I knew I guessed correctly. You would go that far, just to keep me tied to your father's business?
That's right. I would.
I bit down on her lip, hard. But what would... Wait, oh, no, that's good.
But what would you even know? About how I feel.
I'm sorry.
Don't apologize.
I shook her head vehemently.
I'm not the victim here.
You say that. But isn't it because of me that you and Tanaka weren't able to stay together? I began to tremble. Her secret is out.
When did you figure it out?
She asked. Earlier today. That tie clip.
Right. Not the sort of gift one gives to one's husband's coworker, is it? Even if it was a listening device.
My smile was bitter with self-deprecation. I couldn't help but pity her. Even Tanaka must have suspected that she placed the company's profit above everything else, if she'd go to such lengths to protect his interest. It was like she'd given up her whole entire life just for that.
Well,
She said.
aren't you angry?
I just shook my head. Could you tell me just one more thing, though? I asked. Did Tanaka ever tell you what his lab password was?
His password?
I needed to get the antiviral out of the lab. I flinched at the suggestion.
To get it out? What are you thinking? That belongs to the company.
I just need one dose to save Maria. Please. If you know, please tell me.
I don't know it.
Ai's voice was barely a whisper. I looked my wife right in the eye. You're telling the truth.
I am.
I see. Then, do you have any idea what number he might have used for a password? I shook her head silently, then turned her back to her husband once more. Tanaka hadn't given Ai his password. My last chance had gone up in smoke. I let out a long, shaky breath and shut my eyes tight. Was it true? Was there nothing more I could do?
Endo.
The workroom door slowly eased open. I was too shocked for words. The girl who entered the room looked just like Hitomi.
Maria! Hitomi!
I blinked in bewilderment. It was almost as if Hitomi were standing in front of a mirror. The two girls looked so similar.
Maria! Thank goodness you're alright. I'm so sorry I had to be worried.
Maria was safe, I realized. At last, I managed to fulfill my duty.
Yeah, Jules.
How did you manage to get out of the storeroom?
Oh, okay. Nolan, go for it. Your Daisuke.
How did you manage to get out of the storeroom?
My dad's gone pale.
Tell me.
Maria said sharply.
Who was it who came up with this kidnapping plan?
Suddenly, Daisuke shoved Maria aside and lunged for Hitomi. Then we moved to stop him, but before he could intervene, the older man had a hold on Hitomi, pressing something that looked like a flashlight up against her neck. Dad! I started towards him, but Stanley held a hand.
Don't move. It's a stun gun. If he zaps her in the neck, it could kill her.
You know your stuff.
Daisuke said.
You deal in American electronics?
No. I do this for a living.
Stanley drew his gun in an instant, taking aim at Daisuke's forehead. A. Wait, hold on! I interposed myself between Stanley and my father. Dad, let Hitomi go. You need to stop this nonsense. I walked slowly towards my dad, a pleading look in my eyes.
Nonsense? Which one of us is talking nonsense here? You don't know what's going on. If you knew everything, then you'd be helping me.
What do you mean, everything?
With this girl's heart, we can save Susune.
Dad, who was it exactly who told you that? Daisuke did not reply. I asked you a question. Who was it that put that crazy idea in your head?
A foreign organ trafficker I met at the hospital.
Daisuke murdered. Stanley let out a snort.
A likely story.
It's true. I was suspicious at first myself.
Daisuke said stubbornly.
But I couldn't just sit around and wait for Suzune to die. And after talking to him about her rare blood type and all the difficulties that in performing a transplant, he promised he'd do everything in his power.
Daisuke's hands were trembling. Tears welled up in his vacant and bloodshot eyes.
And a while later, he got back in touch and told me he'd found a potential match. Someone with the same blood type as Suzune, and roughly the same age. But then he told me the girl was still alive. And so what was the point? Her heart might be a match for Suzune's, but it didn't matter if we couldn't get her hands on it. And I said that. But then the man told me.
He told you what? I bit my lip.
He told me to abduct her and turn her over to him. After that, he'd find a way to make it all work.
At last, Daisuke had to confess. Now I had to come to grips with the truth. I had just heard.
I had to do something.
My father continued vehemently.
I had to abduct this girl and see things through. I just couldn't take it. Suzune had already been taken from me. The thought of losing Suzune too. I had to make sure I didn't fail.
So, it was this organ trafficker who came up with the kidnapping scheme then.
Stanley said. Kept his gun aimed at his target. Daisuke nodded.
Describe him for me.
He was tall, had black hair, spoke fluent Japanese.
Stanley raised an eyebrow at that. I wondered if he had some idea who might have did it.
And taking Mario Sawa hostage in order to lure out Hitomi. That was his idea as well?
Yeah. Yes, that's right. I allowed its computer to access my surveillance camera system as well. But then, this morning, I got a call from the hospital saying Suzune's condition was critical. Couldn't wait any longer. I had to help my girl right away. And then...
Daisuke cut himself off, reaffirming his grip on his stun gun.
I was looking at the surveillance monitor, and I saw a detective I happened to know. He was right next to this girl here. And so I decided to ask him. I knew if I did, he wouldn't refuse. He could never refuse a request from me.
And I was the man with the cane, I asked. His voice was low and hoarse.
Yes, I was giving him directions while I followed you on the monitors.
Dad, you need to let go of Hitomi now. There's no point to this. Took another step closer to my dad.
There is a point. If I kill this girl here and now, your sister can get the surgery she needs.
But even I knew that things couldn't possibly work out that way. My father had grown so desperate to help Suzune that he lost all sense of judgment.
Why, Achi? Why won't you help me? Don't you want to save Suzune?
Daisuke made a pathetic sight. And yet, his desperation to save his child was so palpable, it was heart-rending. Thought back to a time had laid my father out when sparring. No matter how pathetic he may have looked, I had always felt that sense of paternal love from him.
You're not going to be able to talk him down.
Stanley murmured. I shook my head. Stanley! I said, lower your gun. Tears were welling up in his eyes. Please. Lower your gun. Hearing the determination in my voice, Stanley quietly complied. I stepped up to my dad, giving a firm grip to my father's slender shoulder. Dad, of course I want to help Suzune.
Then why trying to stop me?
Dad, do you think this is what she wanted you to do? Daisuke's face fell. Did Suzune ask for this? Dad? Did she tell you to take someone else's heart so she could live longer? Did she, Dad? Suddenly, the fight seemed to ebb from Daisuke's body. The stun gun hung limply in his hand.
If Suzune asked me to go and get someone's heart for her, I wouldn't object. I'd help her, just like she wanted. I wouldn't let you bear these crimes yourself. It's not what this is it? Suzune would never ask us to do something like this, would she?
By now, tears were streaming down my cheeks. I knew that my father thought about Suzune more than he thought about anyone else. And so, I know I should know full and well that she'd never want him to do this. Suzune's not like me. She's smart. She's kind. She'd never be happy with taking someone else's heart. Even if it saved her life, I'm sure she'd never be able to accept that. She wouldn't be able to live with it, knowing something so horrible had happened to someone else for her sake. Isn't that the Suzune we know? Daisuke's cheeks were smeared with tears now. Well,
we're not going to be able to help her.
the father and son wept across the weeping echoing through the workroom. Maybe so. Maybe we will. But that's better than the misery and suffering she'd have to live with. Daisuke slumped to his knees on the floor, collapsing and crumbling like a crumbling mound of sand. Hitomi, freed from his grip, stood motionless. There were tears in her eyes, too. You're such an idiot, Dad. Such a complete, utter idiot. Sobbing, I embraced my father. There was a sudden thud from near the door. Everyone turned to look. Maria had crumbled to the floor, and the newcomer had appeared. At some point, Caanan had silently entered the room, and now she cradled Maria in her arms. Standing at the doorway was a man I didn't recognize, his face pale.
Stay back!
Stay back! Oh,
wait, that's Caanan.
Stay back!
Caanan shouted at me when I tried to approach. It looked like Maria had fallen unconscious. My heart was racing on my chest. Eerie sounds fell over the room. For several seconds, no one said a word, their eyes all fixed on Maria. Finally, Caanan looked up, her face ashen.
It's starting.
At the young man's desperate pleading, the other fellow, apparently his father, finally gave in. He released his hold on Hitomi. The tension in the room was replaced by a solemn air of gravitas. Seeing father and son weeping as they spoke made me think back to his conversation with Tatano before the stakeout. What was it in people that drove them to do such horrible things? Sometimes it was the desire to save the ones they loved. Being such a heartfelt human emotion could drive someone to wrongdoing. Why? Why did people have to be like that? A sudden thud snapped me out of my musing. An instant later, Caanan hurried past me into the workroom. Maria had collapsed on the floor, and now Caanan was beside her. In a panic, I rushed into the workroom as well.
Stay back!
Caanan shouted as the others tried to huddle around the fallen girl. Please don't be what I think this is. Had the virus gone symptomatic? 2 hours ago, Stanley had told me that Maria was infected. He also said that her symptoms wouldn't develop for another 4 hours. Don't they still have 2 more hours to go? Maria looked like she was dead. Her eyes closed, her body motionless. Hitomi tried to approach despite Caanan's warning.
Maria!
She cried.
Maria, what's wrong?
I held my arms wide to hold her back. Your sister has been infected with the UA virus.
The UA virus?
Hitomi's face went pale. Hey, I said to Caanan. Could you really be that close? If she developed symptoms. But Caanan didn't move from Maria's side. She calmly rested her hand on the other girl's forehead.
There's no fever,
She said.
and there's no blood coming from her ears. No lymph swelling. I'll be alright. She hasn't gone symptomatic yet. In that case, why did she collapse?
Hitomi asked.
I'm not sure yet. Whatever the case, if we don't get her that antiviral, she's done for. Then we have to get her to the lab right away.
Hitomi said. He was trembling with anxiety.
No, that's not an option.
No, that's not an option. My tone was grave. You may already be aware, Mrs. Sawa, but without a password, we can't access the antiviral storage.
But when I went there, my father and Mr. Tanaka...
Mamoru Tanaka is dead. Murdered.
What?
She stared at me uncomprehendingly.
No. No. That can't be true.
He was a member of a crime syndicate. They possibly killed him in order to silence him.
So then... there's no way to save my sister?
There's a hollow look in Hitomi's eyes.
No! I won't accept that! Why? Why can't we help her?
And no one had an answer. I gritted my teeth and hung my head. Why did it have to come to this? I come this far, but there is nothing I can do. I hated myself for it. I'll go to the laboratory. Where's Caanan?
Electronic clock breaking is my specialty.
Wait!
The young man, Achi, spoke up suddenly.
So, you're a martial arts badass, but like, your specialty is lock breaking?
He looked positively dumbstruck. Cannot ignore him, thinking out loud.
Brute force. Side channel. Shortcut. Given the situation, I think I have to go with side channel.
side channel.
Stanley asked.
Where's your equipment?
One of the lab PCs will suffice. I can connect to a special server from the net.
I don't really understand the stuff you're talking about,
Achi said.
but I trust that you'll handle this. I mean, you did risk your life to save Hitomi from that minivan explosion after all.
Caanan nodded.
I have to warn you in advance, though. Cryptanalysis can take hours and still yield no results. I can't guarantee I'll be able to get the doors unlocked before Maria develops symptoms. I understand.
Hitomi said. Achi nodded too. No one present had any objections. All of a sudden, there was a curious sound from somewhere in the room. "What's that?" I asked. "What's making that noise?" I looked around the workroom. Daisuke, maybe? Daisuke? Nolan, are you there? Achi, go for it.
That's my computer.
Daisuke hurried to his desktop. The bank of monitors, which had been displaying surveillance camera footage from all around Shibuya, had all gone black.
What the hell? What's going on, Dad?
Achi joined his father, staring at the computer screens.
It's all gone. Camera footage. It has been deleted.
Daisuke blinked in disbelief.
Now then, it seems our main class has all been assembled.
A man's voice, distorted by a voice modulator, suddenly emerged from the computer speakers. A moment later, the monitors all began to display a view of the inside the workroom.
Dad, what the hell is this?
Someone's broken through our firewall. They've hijacked the surveillance camera system.
Color drained from Daisuke's face as he looked at the screens. Where are they filming us from? I asked, scanning the inside the room. They used the image on the monitors to guess where the camera might be located. Over here? The lens of the camera set atop the computer monitor glimmered like an eye. It was a miniature camera, so red composite and the like.
Now that Maria and Hitomi were there, the party surmised the situation ahead. And so, I offer a proposal. The laboratory password in exchange for Hitomi's blood.
Realizing now that it was Alfred's voice that they were hearing, and when the room froze.
At 7 o'clock, roughly 1 hour from now, See that Hitomi's soul is waiting at the Scramble intersection of Shibuya Station, just like this morning. Unless, of course, you're feeling particularly confident. You do have Caanan with you. Perhaps you'd care to take a gamble on our lockpicking skills instead.
Caanan clucked her tongue in frustration. Alfred had known exactly what the plan was.
Of course, if Caanan isn't able to get the door open in time, what will you do then? We are sure to die, yes. But that's not all. You don't agree to my offer? I have the means of creating another Maria, and a third. These infectees will spread the virus through Tokyo. The death will likely number in the hundreds of thousands. So do think carefully before you decide.
Alfred's voice was chillingly matter-of-fact.
I will appear at the rendezvous in person. After all, it wouldn't do for the star of the show to miss the final curtain. I'm looking forward to meeting all of you then.
Silence fell. Then the images on the computer monitor returned to normal. Surveillance camera footage came back online as well. Daisuke promptly yanked out his Ethernet cable and slammed his fist on the keyboard. Daisuke.
Damn it! There's a hole in the firewall. I'll have to redo my security from the ground up.
Good call.
Caanan says calmly.
We can't win this if our intel keeps getting leaked.
Stanley pursed his lips in consternation. What do we do? I asked him. Do we give in to his demands? I mean, do we really expect he's just going to blithely show up like that? He's practically begging for us to come and catch him. There had to be some deeper plan at work.
If it means saving my sister, I'll do it.
Hitomi was resolute.
No,
Stanley said.
you can't.
What? Why not?
Because if you do, you'll be killed.
What?
Hitomi's voice caught in her throat.
The antiviral is still present in your body a week after the fact. You're too much of a liability for Alpha to just let go.
He's right. Don't do it.
Achi exclaimed.
Hitomi, you can't go.
Even still, I want to do it.
Hitomi stared defiantly at Stanley.
Still want to go even knowing you'll be killed.
I can't just sit here and hope that Caanan is able to pull this off.
She said.
I want to do something for my sister. I want to save her.
She peered down Maria, sprawled on the floor.
Is this still Tommy?
Yes.
She'd object to me going. I'm sure of that. But I want to do what I can. To do things my way.
No one tried to contradict her this time.
If she's willing to take the risk, then there are things the rest of you can do, too.
It was Caanan again. Let's hear it, I replied. I squared my shoulders. I was of the same mind as Hitomi. I couldn't just do nothing, leave it all in Caanan. After everything I've been through, I wanted to stick with this case until the very end.
Apprehend Alphard at the rendezvous and demand the password from him.
Caanan offers suggestion, as if it were a simple task.
That lets you get what you want without putting Hitomi in danger.
I let out a sigh. Hold on, I said. Even if we do arrest him, how are we going to get him to cough out the password? We don't have time to drag him off to an interrogation room. Besides, he doesn't strike me as a sort to offer a confession that easily.
There are ways.
Caanan said.
Once Alphard has made contact with Hitomi, call my cell phone.
Hitomi tilted her head.
Call you? I have plenty of information Alphard might want to bargain for. I can negotiate with him directly.
I considered Caanan's proposal. I see. So we tried both options. Attempt to hack the password at the lab, and also try negotiating with Alfred. It gives us two chances. The tiny ray of hope, Tommy's face brightened up some.
We'll split into two groups. One for the lab and one for Shibuya Station.
Caanan said.
Let's exchange phone numbers so we can be in touch when the time comes.
The group quickly shared contact info as suggested. Hitomi and Caanan called one another's phones to be sure. Hitomi's cheerful ringtone felt out of place, also somehow soothing, a fragment of normalcy in the midst of crisis.
Well, guess we're all set then.
Hitomi said, looking down the LCD screen. Her expression turned apologetic.
I'm sorry, Caanan. For having to keep putting things on you. Hey,
Caanan replied.
don't worry about it. Okay, now I guess I should call my father.
Hitomi called Kenji Osawa on his cell, asking him to let Maria and Caanan into the lab. I leaned in to whisper into Kanan's ears. Are you sure you're okay with this?
With what?
Now that you're after Alphard. I sure want to go to the lab and not...
Right now, I want to save Maria. That's all.
The tone was as curt and mechanical as ever. There's a fierce gleam of determination in her eyes. Maria was clearly someone very special to her. Alright, I replied. Leave Alfred to me. I thumped myself on the chest. I'll succeed this time, no matter what the odds. I scarcely recall the whirlwind of events that brought me here. But I somehow survived a dozen disasters. Even now, a dear friend was in the hospital, at risk of dying. There are times when I've been ready to give up. Yet, at the end of it all, here I am. My opponent was an international terrorist. No matter how you look at it, that wasn't a matchup for a mere detective. But I'm gonna do it anyway. Marie, Chizio, Sasayama, and Detective Tatano. I'm gonna take down Alfred and save Maria Osawa's life. Just you watch and see.
And I'll go ahead and give him his password. My last chance had gone up in smoke. I let out a long, shaky breath and shut my eyes tight. Was it true? Was there nothing more I could do? My cell phone rang. When I saw the name on the oncoming call display, I nearly shouted out loud. It was Hitomi. Hitomi? Are you alright? Please, tell me you're alright.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm fine. But... Maria's...
Maria? Is Maria there with you? My heart leapt.
Dad... There isn't any time for me to explain everything. So I'll have to just give you the main points. This is so we can save my sister. So just stay calm and listen.
I struggled to hold back the thousand questions that immediately came boiling to my mind.
There's a girl named Caanan who's going to bring Maria to the lab. She's going to try to hack the password in order to get us inside.
Wait, hold on. Just what in the world is going on?
There are a bunch of people here working to help save Maria. Can you wait for us at the lab, Dad?
I'm not sure that electric lock is something that'll be so easy to.
We've got another plan in motion too. And if that goes well, we might be able to learn the password.
It was all too much to follow, but I realized I have to take Hitomi at her word. It was their only hope of saving Maria. Alright, I said. I'll do as you ask. But you said you're trying two approaches. You're not going to be in danger, are you?
No, I'll be fine. Don't worry about me.
Okay. Very well. I'm heading to the laboratory now.
You can't! You can't let go!
And started for the house. I clung to me from behind.
If you use the antiviral now,
She said.
everything will go public!
There's no way we can keep the virus or the antiviral under wraps at this point. I tried to pull free, but my wife was stronger than I expected. Besides, if Maria infects other people, then the whole world is going to find out in a matter of hours.
No. We can just quarantine her. If it's handled correctly, you'll still be able to retain secrecy.
His voice was cold as ice. Do you even have an idea what you're saying right now?
I do. I know how it sounds. But this is the only thing I can.
Her voice trailed off. I could feel the force of her trembling when she held me. Have I really put you into that much of a corner? I slipped from Ai's arms and prostrated myself on the ground in front of her. I'm sorry. I'm truly, truly sorry.
Stop this! Get up! If you're really sorry, then don't go to that lab!
I remained silent, my forehead pressed to the dirt.
If you use the antiviral without corporate approval, your time with Okoshi is finished!
It doesn't matter to me anymore.
How can you say that? Virology is the only thing you've ever cared about.
I began pummeling my back. Maybe virology is all that I care about. I don't know the first thing about anything else. I never wanted to know. Never even thought to find out. Never bothered to learn what you or my own children might think. I'm a failure. As a father and as a husband.
How dare you say that only after it comes to this?
Ice struck me again, harder than before. You're right. I gasped out the words between her blows. Maybe this has been too long coming. But it's not too late. I can still start over.
Start over!
She paused in disbelief.
You already turned down that American job! If you use that antiviral now, there won't be any starting over! You'll lose everything!
Will I lose you too?
After you're gone? After you've gone and throw everything else away like this? How could I possibly stay with you?
I was sobbing softly now. I wondered what her tears were for. But there was one thing I did know. She was right. We couldn't be together anymore. I got to my feet and headed back to the house, leaving Ai behind. I hurried through the back entrance and went to the garage. Climbed into my car, fastened my seatbelt, and took a deep breath. The image of a younger Maria rose in the back of my mind. There she was at the park, getting drenched by the rain, holding back her tears as she waited for her father. Wait for me, Maria. This time, I'm going to come for you. I was wrong. Going to the lab wouldn't mean losing everything. I'd let too many important things slip through my fingers. Now it's time to go take them back. I pulled my car onto the street and sped towards the laboratory. As if to signal that the long day was drawing to a close, the dazzling sun sank down between the buildings in the distance.